Hey everyone, I hope everyone's okay this wonderful, wonderful Sunday afternoon or evening, and I hope you're doing okay. I'm not sure whether Rob's going to be around. He is out of hospital now. For those that have sent their best wishes to him, he does. Thank you very much. He is out of hospital, but still quite uncomfortable. So when I spoke to him earlier, so let's see if he turns up. But apologies if he doesn't, but it's totally understandable. Right, so basically what we're going to do this week is just go over last week and recap some of the points that Sarah actually brought up. Now, there were a few comments from last week that Sarah was talking fast. It may have been a little bit difficult for you to understand her accent with Chinese and English mix. So what I've done is I've taken her notes and put them into basically the standard set of slides that we have for these calls, so you can download them and come back to them referral later on. So hopefully that'll be okay. So with that said, let's jump in, and what we'll do is at the end of the call I'll share the link so you can come over and ask questions live once we stop the broadcast. So anyway, let's have an overview of shipping products from China. So let's jump straight in. So like I said, just to reiterate, we had a call last week with special guest Sarah Wang from TopWay International. And she was talking about shipping products from China to basically the USA and Amazon FBA warehouses. Now, like I said, some of Sarah's conversation was pretty fast. She did talk quite quickly. And we just wanted to get this information into one concise bit of training for everybody. So this is what we're doing at the moment. Okay. So what are the different shipping methods? We're going to be talking about air express. We're going to be talking about air freight and sea freight, and having a look at the differences between there. So let's have a look at Air Express to start with. Now, Air Express, we're talking about couriers that we've all heard of, people like DHL, FedEx, UPS, TNT is another one, but I think that's predominantly European. And that's basically what Air Express is. So using one of these couriers to ship products from door to door. Okay. Now, they do offer very quick services, not a quick turnaround. So if you order products from your supplier and they're going to come Air Express, you should get those products within 4 to 5 days, or basically within a week. Okay, and the same goes if you're shipping products from your supplier into FBA. They should be at an FBA warehouse within the week. From a costing point of view, the average cost at the moment is around $6 per kilogram, or around $3 per pound. Okay, this does vary. It will go up. Sometimes it's been up to $7.50 per kilo, but I think at the moment the average is around $6 per kilo. So once you're doing your calculations with respect to shipping, if you're using Air Express, I would generally use $6 per kilo to work out the ballpark costs for shipping your products from A to B. Okay. Now, when you're shipping products, Air Express is ideally suited for smaller parts and lower quantities. I wouldn't contemplate Air Express, i.e. DHLing over garden furniture, for example. That's not really suited for that, or really heavy items like dumbbells or weight training equipment. Okay, so like I said, it's ideally meant for small items and low quantities. There is no real need to work with a freight forwarder or customs broker when you're dealing with DHL and FedEx. Now, I can just tell you what I do. What I generally do is just work with a supplier, and I shall get them to give me a quote door to door. So it's either samples, their door to my door, or if it's FBA, their door to somewhere in close to where you are in the US. If you're not in the US, just use some random address that you know, or pick off the internet or whatever, just so you've got a ballpark figure for the working out the costs. Now, like I said, the average cost is around $6 per kilo for Air Express, so you can always tell whether you're getting a good deal or not. If I'm not getting a good deal from the supplier, I will then contact the freight forwarder, someone like Sarah at TopWay, and get them to organize it. But there's no real need to work with any custom brokers or to get any legal paperwork in place at all. Okay, so that's Air Express. Let's have a look at the next option of air freight. Now, air freight is a little bit different to Air Express, and it's generally flown airport to airport via an airline company that has additional space in their cargo hold. Now, it does take a few days longer with standard air freight, simply because you have to book in advance, and therefore there's more waiting time, and you have to be booked onto that scheduled flight coming over. Okay, so it generally takes between, I would say, 7 and 15 days to come over. Okay, now this is ideally suited for slightly larger, slightly more components or more products you've got coming over. Like I said, here it's got 150 kilograms to 300 kilograms, but not too bulky. So I think Sarah mentioned last week that if you're sending over boxes of feathers or blowing up balloons for whatever reason, it's not ideal for that, simply because you will be then charged for volumetric space being taken up. Okay, so that's not ideal, because your weight is next to nothing, but they would compensate that because you're taking up a lot of room. All right, so that's you've got to be careful of that. Now, the general price, if you fit all of the criteria, in other words, a small item, not too heavy, but you've got a few more items to bring over, and it makes sense to go air freight, you're looking around $4 per kilogram, or around $2 per pound, in order to get that over on air freight. Like I said, it takes a little bit longer, but you do save a bit of money. Now, I asked a question to Sarah last week, which is it good to ask FOB or Exworks? And I'll cover this in a minute, what that means. She was saying it's better to ask for Exworks if you're working with a freight forwarder, i.e. someone like TopWay and Sarah. Now, the reason is that they would actually go and collect the products from the factory, and they would then arrange for all of the legal paperwork to be in place, and they would do all of the customs clearance and everything like this. Okay, whereas if you're doing FOB, which is free on board, then you don't know whether you're getting a good deal on the customs clearance or anything like that. It's all hidden. Okay, so it's better to ask for Exworks and get Sarah and her team to actually work everything out from there. So with air freight, you do need to work with a freight forwarder because of the clearance and legal aspects, both sides, because it's going from port to port. Okay, so from your factory, you're the supplier, it needs to be transported to the airport. At the airport, there's customs clearance and duties payable. When it gets to the US, same deal there. There's customs clearance and duty payable. You then need to arrange for the goods to be picked up at the airport and transported to FBA. And this is why it's good to work with someone like Sarah and TopWay, simply because they manage everything, because they have contacts both sides of the seas. Obviously, they're based in China, but they've got their own team based in the USA. Hello, Rob. How are you doing, sir? Well, Rob's joined us, so I'm happy about that. Sounds good. All right. So what you need to also provide is packing lists, cart sizes and weights, your product name, and the destination where it's going to. Now, your supplier should be able to, or they will supply all of that information. You just need to ask them, or Sarah and her team can just ask for that information that should be supplied by them. Now, this is ideally suited for smaller items and low weight. But I'll say if you've got a few more products coming over, it's ideal. But like I said earlier, if you're sending over large volumes of feathers or whatever, it's not ideal, because they're not going to take the weight into consideration. They're going to take the size of the carton at that point. All right, so you need to be careful what we're doing. So let's have a look at sea freight. Okay, now this is by far the cheapest, but by far the most complex method to get products around. Okay, now it does take a little bit longer. The main China to US routes generally take around 20 days to the west coast of USA and about 35 days to the east coast. And that depends on the vessels. Some vessels go faster than others. Some are bigger, some are smaller. So it really depends on what container your vessel is on. Okay. Now, you also need to add loading and unloading times on each side. In other words, all of the processing, loading, and all of the malarkey goes on in China. You've also got to add time, allow time when products get to the States for products to come off of the container or off of the vessel, out of the container, and then shipped around and clearance and everything like this. So from that point of view, you need to add at least another week, probably 2, to your shipping times. So you can see there, it's now starting to stretch out. With respect to Exworks or FOB, you really should be asking for Exworks pricing from your supplier and get your freight forward to manage this. In other words, Sarah, she can actually manage all of that. And again, you must work with a freight forwarder if you are working or if you're looking to sort of get products moved on the sea. Okay. Now, this is an important point here that Sarah has, or TopWay do have a US broker, which is a very, very important point to take into consideration, because if you're going to decide to use some other Chinese freight forwarder, they may not have a US broker, at which point you could find yourself in all sorts of problems. So it's really important that you work with a freight forwarder. If you're not going to work with TopWay, that you use either a US freight forwarder or a Chinese freight forwarder that has a US broker, which is really important, because they are the ones that do all of the paperwork and all of the legal aspects stateside. Okay.
Hey, Paul.
Hello, Rob. How you doing, sir?
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
I'm doing all right. Another rough night of recovery. But hey, I'm glad we're talking about sea freight again, and I'm glad that we got to put this thing together so that we could kind of make sure and go over everything again and make sure, because I think understanding your shipping is a pretty important thing when you're getting started. One of my comments about this. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Paul.
Well, no, you're right. That's right. And the fact that we just had Sarah on and she was just talking last week was great. But I know Sarah does talk quite fast, and some people can't necessarily grab the English to Chinese accent as well as other people. So yeah, you're right. It's important to go over that again. And now we've got a set of slides so everybody can download and cross-reference that when they're at this point. But it's very good to hear you on the call, sir. Very good.
Well, I'm here, and if I hear anything that's that I can jump in on, I'll share. I can share this with you. You got to put at least 45 days minimum in your time frame on sea freight. Now, there's some guys out there that are going to tell you, oh, yeah, I can do it in 21 days, or I can do it. And I appreciate that. And that's a great, in an ideal world, it's kind of like when you live in a big city and every day there's rush hour traffic. And if you leave 5 minutes earlier sometimes, if you leave 10 minutes later, you get there in an hour and a half.
Yeah,
hard to predict. You got to get it into Amazon, you know, so things when it even comes down to what we call, and we'll talk about this more again. I think, Paul, that's something I maybe work on, is maybe have a conversation about a cash flow. And we can have a conversation about cash.
Yeah, so if we could arrange that in the next couple of weeks, I think it's a brilliant one. Very good idea. So yeah, if you can jump in as and when you see something, Rob, that'd be great. So let me just finish up on containers here. What I'm saying, this is obviously, if you're going to put stuff on the sea, is ideal for larger quantities, bulky items. I think Sarah said there's 3 types or 3 sizes of containers. There's your 20-foot container, there's your 40-foot container, and there's a 40-foot high cube, which is basically taller, and you just get more stuff in it. It may not be practical to actually fill up a whole container by yourself, but don't worry, because there's a service that is commonly used, which is LCL, which is less than container load. Now, when I spoke to Sarah and she said, can I put some special offers on the website and stuff on Facebook? I said, yeah. And basically what she's doing there is offering space within a container, which is less the container load. In other words, she's rented out a container and she's trying to fill it up with various different people's orders that are coming out of China to get that into an FBA warehouse. Now, if you keep an eye on those, sometimes you can get fantastic deals. Okay, because I know shipping a 40-foot container is going to cost you about just $1,400. Can you imagine splitting that down over your component cost? You know, it's going to work out very, very low. Excuse me. So sea freight, there's a lot of hoops to jump through, but make sure you work with a reputable freight forwarder, someone like TopWay and Sarah and her team, if you're going to do that. So I just got some rough times here, and this is coming out of Hong Kong. No, not all of the ships going to come out of Hong Kong, obviously, but Hong Kong is a huge port and very, very close to southern China, as you know. Now, the average time to Los Angeles, USA, is 20 days. New York, 32. Felixstowe, the UK, is around 29. Hamburg, which is a big port in Germany, is 30. If for whatever reason you want to drop stuff around in Singapore, that's just around the corner of 5 days. And if you're going to go down to Sydney, Australia, that's 12. But bearing in mind, there's something that Rob just mentioned, you need to add time at the front end and the back end, because this is just sailing time. This is just time on the water. You need to add front loading and back loading on top of that. Okay. So it's important to understand and work that into your calculations when you're doing your shipping plan. So what are some of these like weird sounding codes like FOB and stuff like that? What does that mean? So let me try and explain that for you. EXW, okay, you'll see that often in some of the quotes you get from your suppliers. What that means is Exworks. And guess what it stands for? Now, what does it mean? It means that you pay for the goods, we pay for your products, okay? The supplier will produce them and manufacture them, and then they'll say, right, they're ready for collection at my factory, okay? That is where their obligation finishes, at the factory gate. It's then down to you to arrange everything, i.e. collection from the factory to wherever. So, for example, if we're using TopWay and Sarah and her team, I would say, Sarah, my products are ready. Can you go and collect them, please? Here's the address in Guangdong. So what they will do is they will contact the factory, and they will then arrange to collect my products and bring them into their warehouse. Once they've got the warehouse, then they can start to package them or make sure the packaging is fit for traveling to FBA. Okay, so Exworks is your products will be produced and you pay for them, and it finishes at the factory gate. That is where the obligation finishes. Okay, so let's have a look at the next one. FOB. This means free on board. FOB. Okay. Now, what does that mean? Well, that means that the supplier has quoted you where they are going to pay for everything to get those goods cleared, including customs and duty in China, including the cost of getting those products loaded onto ship stroke plane, okay, ready to go, ready to roll. Okay, so that's basically what FOB means. So you are paying for the cost of your products. You're also paying for any transportation between your supplier and the airport or seaport, as well as any customs and duty that is due on those products. Now, sometimes, I'm not saying it's all the time, but sometimes there could be some hidden costs there that you don't understand. Maybe you're paying for some middlemen that shouldn't necessarily be there. Maybe you're paying for several middlemen that just want their cut. It's very unclear. It's very unclear. Okay, so if you're working with someone like TopWay, or you're getting your products sent FedEx or UPS, something like that, you don't need to worry about FOB. Okay, it's just like delivery cost. In general, you should really be asking for Exworks, and then talk to a freight forwarder like Sarah, and they will give you a quote for collection, and they will be very transparent on what the duty and export customs is all about. Okay, so you've got a clear breakdown of price throughout your supply chain. There's one other that sometimes pops up. Okay, this is DDP, right? Delivered duty paid. Okay, now what this means is your products are delivered to the selected address, i.e. Amazon FBA, and that includes duty and customs paid in China, as well as duty and customs paid in the US. Now, you generally only see DDP if products are going via sea. You very rarely see that express. You sometimes see it going by air freight. Okay, but very rarely do you see a DDP quotation unless you specifically ask for it. But I would say in our case, we will be looking for Exworks, on the odd occasion FOB. Okay, so hopefully that clears up what these acronyms are. So we also get a lot of questions with respect to how much do I pay on duty? What about customs, and who deals with that, and all the rest of it? Well, it's not a clear cut, and it's not an easy subject to discuss. But when you're importing via sea or air freight, you need to work with a freight forwarder, and your freight forwarder would generally deal with everything for you. Okay, and when I say generally, that means you really need to make sure. This is why you need to make sure that you are working with a freight forwarder that has a presence in the USA. Okay, because they will pick up everything for you. They will use their what they call bond. Like I said, it's quite a complex system to actually work through. But if you work with a right freight forwarder, it should be painless, okay? Because they will manage everything for you. When stuff's coming over by sea, 100% guaranteed every single product is looked at, and you will get charged for import duty and any taxes due. Okay, so like I say, what generally happens, your freight forwarder will cover that, and they will send you the bill, and then you just pay your freight forwarder. Okay, that's generally what happens. When importing via express courier, i.e. DHL, UPS, one of these carriers, the courier company will calculate all of the customs due and everything like this in the same way as a freight forwarder, and they will send you the bill after it's delivered. There's one caveat to this. And generally, there is a level of goods value where this is exempt. In other words, products will just come in, they'll just go straight through, and that value is $2,500. Okay, so if you can keep the value of your goods under $2,500, and you're bringing products in a DHL, UPS, one of these other couriers, it should just go straight through customs without any problems at all, without any interference, and you will just get charged the shipping bill. If it's over $2,500, customs are legally, or you are legally obliged to pay any customs duty. Okay, so this is why normally sea freight, it's a lot more content coming over. In other words, the value of the products will be a lot more. Because you got a lot more product coming over because you opted to go by sea, and therefore the assumption is you've got half a container or a container load. Okay, if you're using UPS, you just got a couple of boxes coming over. So that's the general rule of thumb. Like I say, it's always best to talk to your freight forwarder if you're doing anything via sea or on air. So let's have a look. What about insurance? A lot of people ask me about insurance. All the guarantees. Well, obviously nothing's guaranteed in life. And then transportation damages are more common when shipping from China than most people actually think. Okay, especially if your supplier has not provided a sturdy box to put your stuff in. I think we've all seen the videos. We've had a few funny videos posted on the Facebook page where the UPS guy is throwing the 50-inch TV over the gate, over the fence. If he's doing that, your product's in a little brown box. They're not going to be handled with care per se. So you need to make sure that everything's good. Now, insurance is one way to ensure that everything's covered. It doesn't actually cost that much. So the best option is actually look at getting your insurance through your freight forwarder. Now, again, we're generally talking about sea freight or air freight. I would say air freight is probably the more risky because, there's a lot more handling that goes on, manhandling. Whereas, if you're going on the sea, it's loaded in the container. If it's in the container, it's in the container. Container could fall off the boat, off the vessel. It does happen. And if it's going by FedEx or UPC, they've got their own insurance covered there. So anyway, if you really want to look at insurance, the general rule of thumb, the cost of insurance is set to around 0.5% to 0.6% of the cargo value. Now, I've just done a quick calculation below. So, for example, this is the way you work it out. So the insurance cost is cargo value plus transport value. So that's everything all involved. Times 10%, and the 10% there is a safety factor. Times the 0.5%. Okay, so let's have a look at some numbers in there. So if we say $1,500 plus the $500 for transport, times 10% safety factor, times the 0.5%. Okay, so the cost of goods is $2,000 times 10% safety factor is $2,200 times the 0.5. The cost of the insurance is $110. Okay. You obviously need to work out on your own business and what products you've got coming over. That's entirely up to you whether you go with insurance or not. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, depending on what product that is. Okay, but I just wanted to let you know how to work out the insurance. But it's always best to talk to your freight forwarder because they will be able to help you on this point. So the other thing that gets talked about a lot, and Sarah mentioned this quickly last week in the discussion, is the documents that I need to provide. It's not necessarily you need to provide it. You need to get the supplier to provide it. And that's what this means. Now, the first thing is bill of lading. All of that is the main freight document issued to the transport by the transport company that specifies the shipping company, exporting company, in other words, the seller, the consignee, that's you in the US, the product itself, the volume, and the Incoterm. Now, the Incoterm means the set of acronyms that we just talked about when it comes to shipping, i.e. Exworks, FOB, DDP, and there's a ton more others that we don't need to worry ourselves about. Okay, so bill of lading is the transport company or the shipping company will provide that. Commercial invoice. This is your supplier. Okay, a document specifying the order value, the type of products, and the details of the consignee. The consignee is you. Okay, you are the consignee. So you need to get the supplier to create the commercial invoice for your products. Okay, what they also need to provide is a packing list. Now that packing list is a document specifying the volume, different types of products, and the quantity. Okay, so the only difference there is it hasn't got a value on it. Okay, but it's just a breakdown of the products. If I'm buying, I don't know, just looking around my desk, if I'm buying screws, for example, and I'm going to buy 10,000 screws, the packing list will be 10,000 screws. And there'll be a description of the screw, obviously, M4 by whatever. That's it. Okay, so, but your supplier should be able to deliver that very, very easily with no problems at all because they've been making it. Okay, so try and make life as easy as possible. Now, this is not rocket science. It's not brain surgery, but yeah, there are a few little hoops we need to jump through, and if we miss a hoop, it could all come crashing down. So let's try and make life as easy as possible by following these simple tips. Use a freight forwarder, and I'm using TopWay International here as my example, and using them just means that by using a freight forwarder that has a ton of experience in shipping products directly to Amazon FBA means that they know what they're doing. Okay? Stress-free life. Use someone with experience. That they know what they're doing. TopWay have been doing this, and they've set their business up to manage products coming out of China and shipping direct to Amazon FBA. They know what they're doing. If you want to use TopWay, it's very easy because you can contact Sarah in a number of different ways. You've got email, Skype, all of our Facebook groups, and other apps that she's sort of in, i.e. WeChat or whatever. Okay? This means that you can pretty much get hold of her when you want to, or she's going to come back to you in a timely manner. If she doesn't come back to you in a timely manner, you can always give me a shout or give me a buzz, and I can see if I can contact her. In fact, that happened during the week. One of the members said, "Oh, Paul, can you help? I haven't heard from Sarah in a couple of days." I gave Sarah a quick buzz and I got an answer there and then. Okay. It just means that we can contact Sarah because we've got that relationship with her. Okay. And TopWay. Just make life a little bit easy for yourself. They will also do their best to alert you of any certifications needed prior to shipping. Now, this is another thing that Sarah went over, and I noticed she's got a few posts in the Facebook groups over the last day or two. She knows what she's doing because their business is set up around Amazon. And she's actually looked at the company model and said, we need to know as a business some of the requirements for shipping products to the United States and other European countries. Okay. So if you're not sure about your product, give her a shout. Say, Sarah, I've got this sort of Bluetooth speaker I'm thinking about bringing in. Is there anything special I need to know about it from a legal point of view, certifications point of view? And Sarah will be able to come back to you and help you with that. And in fact, a Bluetooth speaker, yes, you do need certifications. Because if you haven't got the certification ready at the port in America, those goods will get bonded and destroyed. Simple as that. So Sarah will be able to help you with respect to Bluetooth. Yes, yeah, Paul, you need FCC certification. Make sure your supplier has got it. Otherwise, don't even think about sending it to America. What about these silica spatulas? Well, they need FDA approval. If they haven't got FDA approval, forget it, because there's a chance that they'll be illegally sold or not even allowed into America. Okay, so she can help you with respect to finding out what requirements are needed and if there's any certification required of various different products. Okay, now it's good that she's in the group because she's actually posting all of these tips within her group. Sarah has actually started a separate Facebook group just for TopWay, where she's going to be posting all of these tips as well as special offers and such like. So we'll try and get hold of that as well. Now, when it comes to payment, just pay the freight forwarder and just pay them directly, because don't pay anybody else, because if you're paying the freight forwarder, it just means that they are serving you and not serving the supplier's interest. Okay, so don't get into one of these scenarios where your supplier says, that's right, I've got a good freight forwarder. Use my freight forwarder contact. Okay, because that means that there's some backhanders going on somewhere, potentially. Or there's mates of a mate involved, this type of deal going on. The factory owner's brother runs a freight forwarder company. It's all of this stuff in the background that you don't know, means that you have less control over what's going on with your products. So therefore, always pay an independent freight forwarder and not the company. It just makes life a lot easier. Consolidation. This is something else that Sarah said that the TopWay do offer. And I think this is a really neat deal. Now, what consolidation means is, for example, if you've got 3 different suppliers, and this is all about samples, okay? So if you've got 3 different suppliers or potential suppliers where you are looking to get products from, you want to get samples from each of those suppliers so you can actually have a look at them, manhandle them, test them, and see what each one is like. If you were to order a sample directly from each of those, each sample, each supplier will say, yeah, no problems, Paul, I can get that to you. It's going to cost you $100. The $100, hold on a minute, this is like a $2 product or it's a $10 product. Yeah, that may well be the case, but they need to charge for standard handling inside their factory, packaging it up, and then they'll charge a standard one-off freight cost, i.e. UPS, DHL, or something like this, and it's going to cost you about $50 to $100. Okay, you imagine they're doing 3 times independently. Yeah, it's $150 to $300 depending. Okay, now let's look at the consolidated method. So you've got your three suppliers. Each have got their sample ready. You then say, can you please send it here? And you give them TopWay International address. You ask Sarah, what's the address I need to send it to? She'll give you the address. You then go to that supplier and say, can you please send the sample to whatever it is in Shenzhen? At which point, they'll give you a tracking number. You give that tracking number to Sarah, and then she's able to track those 3 samples coming into her factory or warehouse. Once she's got all 3, what they will do then is just package them into one box. And that one box will get sent to you for probably about $50 or $100. Yeah, so you're saving 2/3 the cost by doing a consolidation. Now that to me is a no-brainer. And it's very, very easy to manage and do. Okay, so you're going to save yourself quite a bit of money and know that all of your samples are going to come over in one package, which is really cool. Okay, but before you do it, make sure you talk to Sarah and say, oh, I've got some 3, 4, whatever it is, samples coming in. It's, you know, what's the process? Just double check with her. Okay, but it will save you a lot of money when it comes to shipping samples over. So let's have a look at TopWay themselves. The TopWay International Services, this is some of the services they provide. This is basically just an image from their website. So as you can see, it's Amazon services, forwarding and drop shipping. They cover air freight, Chinese inspection. This is something we haven't touched on tonight, but that's another topic. Sea freight, product preparation. I'm going to cover that in a minute. Chinese shipping support, which I think we just spoken about, a lot of support. Air Express, US inspection, and again, I haven't touched on inspection because that's a whole different ballgame. Professional product photography. All right, now I've had a look into that, and that's basically a photographer in the States. So again, you can get a slight discount here if you use their services to get the photographs done in the States, but what I would tend to do is get the samples yourself and then use a local photography with you or where you are, so you can talk to them and say, all right, this is what I'm after. You can potentially go there and have a look at the setup and lay the product out the way you want it. Okay, so these are the services that TopWay International offer. Let's have a look at some of these in details. So the FBA service. Professionalization. Okay, so basically this is just straight from the website, but what they're talking about here is, and again, it's something I've already said, they are familiar with the Amazon shipping requests. In other words, they know how to do Amazon. They know how to send products into Amazon. They know how to avoid risks during transportation. Let's face it, they're a freight forwarder, so they know how to repackage. Now, one of the things they do is if your supplier sends products into their warehouse, some of those boxes are a little bit damaged. What they'll do is they'll repackage for you into more sturdy, transportable boxes. Okay. They also work with customs over in China. They provide clearance. They look at the duty paid and the prepayment of that in the US or Europe, because they have brokers in the States and in Europe. So they're able to do that. They make a point when there's Amazon. In other words, they look at all of the Amazon FBA. They've got a pretty good relationship with Amazon in Texas, I believe. And they say, okay, we've got a container load coming over, expect it whenever. Okay, so they've got a pretty good setup when it comes to FBA. They know what they're doing. And this is why I feel quite comfortable recognizing them as someone that we would like to recommend within our group for our members to actually use, because they know what they're doing. Okay, high efficiency. Once the order is confirmed, they will get in touch with the shipper, book the shipping or the flight space in advance, make all the shipping arrangements, work out what the best vessel is, and get the first best potentially available or the earliest flight available, so So you're not wasting time, and your products are getting on the getting moving straight away. Okay. It says here, meanwhile, our brokers in the destination port are already on the case, and they're preparing custom clearance ready for when the products turn up. All right. So this is another important aspect and of why they're efficient, I guess. Some of the additional services they offer is commissioning follow-up from the beginning until shipments arrive at the Amazon warehouse. So basically what that means is you're going to tracking for your products throughout the whole process, right from being collected at the warehouse of your supplier, all of the activities that are going on within TopWay warehouse when it's being repackaged, when it's loaded onto a ship or an airplane. You get the information sent over for that. So basically, you can track the whole thing right into the Amazon warehouse. They will provide that information for you. So, which is very useful. TopWay also provide additional services like warehousing, storage, parcel returns. They print the FBA labels. They can label your products. They can label the packaging. They'll repackage if anything's damaged. And they'll retransport to other country Amazon warehouses. In other words, not just the US. And they do mention on their website, they're actually dealing with Japan, for example. They'll send stuff into FBA Japan. All right. So there's a lot here that they offer that are dedicated to the FBA service. One of the other neat features that they do offer is a prep service. Now, it's one of the things that I said we were going to talk about, and here it is. Now, what that means is that they know what the FBA requirements are. They know how to prepare your products in order for them to get into the Amazon warehouse without being rejected. Yeah. And basically, they will carry that out. In other words, if your products come out of the supplier's factory without stickers on, they can actually put the right stickers on, i.e. FNSKUs, okay, which is basically the, you print this off when you do your shipping plan. They can also bundle products, and they call here poly bagging, okay, and other prep services. Now, the bundling thing is quite a nice little feature, because that means you can get your products bundled in China, whereas sometimes you wouldn't necessarily have to do that. You'd have to get them sent to your place. You would then have to bundle them, put them in boxes or bags or whatever, and then send them into FBA. But in this case, you said, you know what, Sarah, I've got a couple of products here. One's coming from this factory, one's coming from that factory, and ultimately I want one of them and one of them put in a bag or put in a box. And by the way, here's the box supplier. So arrange all that for me, put one sticker on it, and get everything ready. So they can do that in China, so you don't have to do it at your place, or arrange your supplier to do it, where they, sometimes suppliers, yeah, we can do that, but they overcharge or they mess things up and don't put the right things together. Okay, so sometimes it's better to take that out of the supplier's hands, where you can control things, and it's where you can get TopWay to actually put that bundle together. So that's a nice little neat feature they offer. So this is the last slide, guys. So get your questions ready. How do you get hold of Sarah and TopWay? Well, here's the address. And if you've got one of those QR scanners on your phone, scan this either now or when you print the slides down later. But basically, it will take you straight to their website if you open it up. But you can also see the address here on the right-hand side. I'm not going to try and pronounce some of this, but you can see that's in Shenzhen, China, which is southern China, so you know where that is located. They've got an Alibaba site. They've also got the direct website themselves, so I've made these hyperlinks so you can click on them. The main contact is Rain Mao. This is the telephone numbers here for Rain. And Sarah's contact details are, this is her phone numbers, and I've got her Skype details here. I do not have her WeChat or any other apps that she may well be using, but she is available inside our Facebook groups, so you can always contact her and reach out to her and ask her any questions with respect to other services they offer, or if you want to actually get involved with getting your products managed by TopWay. Okay, so let's have a look, see if there's any questions. Just make sure that is the last one. So, yep, we're now into the questions. Have you got anything to add to that, Rob, while you're there? Let me see if I've got any questions as well. Right, the question here with respect to how do we get labels to someone like Sarah or your freight forwarder? What you have to do is, when you're creating your shipping plan, there'll be an area there where you can actually work on the shipping plan, and inside that you will be able to print off or save at least a PDF. Now that PDF will have the shipping labels on them. Okay, so all you do is just send Sarah the PDF. She'll be able to print that off and just stick it on the box. Okay. Same with any of the UPCs, or if you want a UPC on your product, which is a unique product code, you can actually purchase those and send one to Sarah or your supplier. And the supplier can put it on the individual product itself. Okay, so basically what you do is just send over the PDF, and Sarah will print that off and put them on the product or the box. So if anybody else has got any other questions, that'll be good. Someone asking, how long have TopWay been in business? So I think TopWay have actually been in business for several years. Let me go to their website and then we can have a look. Let me just bring that up over here. It should open up. You should be able to see that now. Let's have a look, see if I can find about us. I did see it earlier. So this is the TopWay website, if you haven't seen it already. And you can see where they ship out of. Since 2014, they've been focused on, let me go, 2014, they're focused on Amazon shipping. So they've been doing this for quite a while with respect to really focusing on Amazon and FBA. That gives me a warm, fuzzy feeling with respect to, yes, they do know what they're doing, and it's well worth talking to them. You can see here their factory space is large. Yeah, is large. So you've got enough room in there to store a few boxes. So that Sarah's comment last week is, if you want long-term storage, they are quite full with respect to long-term storage at the moment, but things obviously change. Okay, so that's basically how long they've been in business. See if I can see any other questions here while we're about it. Now that seems to be about it, guys. So let's have a quick look around here for the next few minutes. Let's look at services. And you can see here the website is very easy to look around. It's in English, and it's in pretty good English as well. Let me see if I can zoom in on this one. Okay. And each of these, if you want to find out any more information, you got all of the services here. We're talking about Chinese inspection earlier, forwarding and drop shipping, if you're into that, FBA services, which I just looked at, sea freight. If you want to find out more about sea freight, you can. All the information is here and detailed below. And you can see they're offering door-to-door service shipping from China to Europe, USA, Canada, Australia, and Southeast Asia. Now, I did see earlier they were actually shipping FBA Japan as well, so which is pretty good. So all of this information, it just backs up what I've just said about these guys, that they are a reputable company. They've been around for a long time. They know what they're doing. They've been focused on FBA services, and they're basically set up to look after us. Okay, so that gives me a very nice, warm, fuzzy feeling with respect to dealing with these guys. And what I've noticed as well inside the Facebook groups is Sarah's very active and always available. So if you do have any questions or anything, Facebook, I would say, would be the primary point of contact. You've obviously got her email, but if she's out on the shop floor or talking to the customers and she's got a phone with her, maybe email is not the best option, but maybe Facebook comes up more regularly or readily on the smartphone, or try and get hold of her WeChat or one of these other popular apps in China.
Hey, Paul?
Yeah, Rob, how you doing?
Good. I gotta say that this video could quite perhaps be the most detailed video about shipping and sourcing those things that I think I've ever watched. So fabulous job. Amazing.
Well, thank you, sir. It's our job here to help everybody out, and I hope the information we're putting across does exactly that.
Well, that's what we're here to do. That's what the Gorillaz are about. That's what the tribe's about. We've got some new programs and stuff coming out here very shortly. I'm still in recovery mode, but we're gonna start getting to work here this week and kind of be updating the website and the membership area. So we'll have some new stuff coming there as well.
Yeah, that's really exciting stuff coming up. We're going to be sharing that as and when it's ready. But yeah, we'll keep an eye out for that one. Listen, guys, if anybody wants to come down the front now and ask any questions and join us live, we're going to turn the recording off shortly. But what I'll do is I'll add the link in so that you can come down and join us and ask these questions live while you've got Rob and I here. Okay, that's the link. So you're more than welcome to come down. And it will be a pleasure to see anybody. Sometimes we get a few people down the front. Sometimes other people are quite busy, which is understandable on this wonderful Sunday evening. All right, team. I think that was, I think I'm going to call it a wrap now. We're going to hang around. So if anybody wants to come down the front, we're going to be hanging around for a short while to answer any questions you may have. But in the meantime, that was, I hope you found that useful information. These slides will be available, as always, inside the Facebook group. And the link will be there as well, so you can have a look at the replay as and when you need it.
Yep. Make sure you guys check out gorillazonline.com. The new updated website will be up this week.
All right, team, you take care. Have a pleasant Sunday night. Talk to you all soon. Bye-bye.
See ya.